Netanyahu is an Israeli problem, and it requires an Israeli solution. But I would also say that Netanyahu is an American problem because Netanyahu's misgovernance and what I believe are the crimes that he has authorized to be committed in the name of Israel against the Palestinian people has put his closest ally, the United States, in a very difficult predicament. We have domestic political issues because of this. This Palestinian issue has confronted the United States with questions of free speech and freedom of association and due process that, again, Professor Dershowitz knows the Constitution better than me, but we are having debates in this country that I don't believe we should be having because the issues of civil rights and civil protections should be unchallengeable, but they're being challenged today because of the question of Israel, Palestine, and where does the United States place its weight behind. I think free speech is free speech. I condemn the KKK and its racism, but I would never suppress those who speak out in favor of the racism because I believe that the better ideas went out, and I can easily come up with ideas that trump any racist idea that the KKK has. And I would like to believe that people who support the state of Israel, rather than silencing voices who speak out in support of Palestine, would say, let them speak, let them be heard, and then we will let the strength of our argument win out. But this has been damaging to America, and that's Netanyahu's fault. It's been damaging to America abroad. Our diplomats have spoken about the isolation of America internationally because of our unquestioned support for Israel. So this has been harmful to America. And I would also say now for Israel. Look, Professor Dershowitz, I don't have your experience. I yield to you. But I did spend 4 years working with the Israelis in the 1990s, hunting down Iraq's weapons of mass destruction, working with Israeli intelligence to eliminate that threat to the state of Israel. And I gained a deep appreciation for the Israeli state, for the Israeli people. I lived in Israel. I worked with the Israelis. And at that time, I could easily say that I supported the Israeli state. I was a big fan of Yitzhak Rabin, and I cried when he was murdered. But I've watched Israel change since that time. And the Israel that exists today is not an Israel that I can support. Netanyahu has created a morally indefensible nation. And so I can't speak out in favor of the continued existence of Israel as it is currently manifested. But again, I come back to supporting you. The solution is with the Israeli people, Israeli democracy. And the Israeli people will have to stand up, look in the mirror and say, is this the face of Israel that we want to see projected to the world? And I'm hoping that the majority of the Israeli people will look in the mirror and say, no, it is not. And they will solve the Netanyahu problem.
Professor Dershowitz, your response?
Well, you described the Netanyahu problem was caused completely by the Palestinian leadership. I, too, was a great friend and admirer of Yitzhak Rabin. And what happened is the Israelis wanted peace desperately. And then the Intifada began and the murders began. And the Israelis moved a little bit more to the right. And when Soviet Jewry left and 800,000 people who had been oppressed by socialism moved to Israel, Israel moved to the right. So Israel has changed, but the change has largely been a function of the fact that it's been attacked and that the peace process, efforts to make peace, I think the biggest change was the failure to accept the Barack Clinton parameters of 2000. I think we would have had a peace. Now, I agree with you. I want free speech, but free speech, and I support it. By the way, Harvard will not allow me to come and speak on behalf of Israel. So there's no free speech really at Harvard. But you talk about the KKK, but none of us would support mass KKK people harassing black students. And that's what's happened. Masked Hamas supporters, the equivalent of the KKK, have been harassing and preventing Jewish students from going to class. That's not free speech. So I completely support free speech, but not harassment of the kind that Hamas masked censors are trying to impose on universities.